All right. Well, tell me a little bit about what you do to help inspire people to get their story out, that may feel a little bit apprehensive about the process, because it can be overwhelming,
It
right?
is
If you think,
overwhelming.
yeah, it is overwhelming, absolutely. So what do you do to help people with that? I mean, you just say, hey, look, I'm gonna take all that off your plate for you. But I mean, tell me what you do. What advice do you give people to help just get them started, take that
Yeah,
first step?
for sure. Talking about it. I always offer free consults, always have, always will. It's always been something that's mattered to me. And, we just talk through it, jam out 30, 45 minutes, tell me who you are, why it matters, who can your story impact. And the more we talk about it, especially with someone who, isn't biased, we're not emotionally connected to you, because people around you, everybody has probably heard, oh my gosh, you should write a book. And I think everyone should, but we don't always know the reason why we're doing it. So, without being kind of cliche or corny about like what's your why, 'cause I think that's so overused and very surface. Um, but just really stripping that back and who do you want to impact? And that's what I said. Like you're really deciding like is writing this book a hobby for you? Is it a business for you? Is it a lead gen? Because we're seeing so much of that. But you're inviting people into your world. So who do you want to invite in? And once people start really nailing who that person is and why that is, that belief just starts to naturally build. And whether they want to write it themselves and they just want someone kind of, over the shoulder. Like when I work with my book clients in terms of coaching, like I'm in there. Like I'm in there like swimwear. I'm on your manuscript. I'm giving you feedback, whether it be critiquing. I'm very honest. I always tell people I'll be your biggest cheerleader, but I'm also going to challenge you. And I think that matters. People need to, if you're looking at working with a ghostwriter, book coach, or what have you, interview them. We shouldn't be interviewing you. Interview us and make sure that we're the person that's going to do your story justice. Because otherwise, we're just helping you put words on a page. And there's great people out there that are okay making a living doing that. And I'm just not. If I hear your story and I don't think I'm the right person to write it, I'll also tell you that. Because the whole goal is to make an impact. And if we're just, like you said, even in the insurance financial space, if you're half in and half out, you're really out. You're not really in at all. And I think the same should be said about, ghostwriting, but coaching and all those things.
Can you tell me maybe a story of somebody that you were consulting with and you're like, no, I'm not really the best fit for you? And was it because they just didn't really have a good story, or was it something else? Like, can you give me an example of somebody you're like, nah, pass?
Yeah. And I wasn't entirely sure if the story was true. And
Oh,
it started feeling very nonfiction fiction. I felt there was a lot of embellished things in there. Because one of the, greatest assets of a ghostwriter is research, especially when we're writing about topics that we're not super well versed in. I need to research the topic. I need to research the person. And I try to, go into a consult with a pretty good idea of who somebody is, at least on what they show out there. And there's just timelines, and he was telling the story, they just didn't really add up. And I just felt that I just wasn't going to be the right person. And it was very embellished. And, in fairness, I think we became part of this generation that like rags to riches or test to triumph or mess to message became the thing. And it's also okay to, I look at, I was pregnant at 15. I came from a middle class household. Like I didn't fit that demographic, that statistic. But it didn't mean my challenges looked different for sure because I had resources, I had access to resources. But having said that, that's not who I am. So I didn't need to start like defining the struggle with all the things I need to do. And I think people get so caught in the struggle where people are far more interested in how you overcame it and feeling like my story's not good enough. So I just felt in that particular consult call that we were just going to pull every traumatic thing off the shelf and throw it in there. And like I said, I mean, it didn't feel true. And
that's really good. Okay, so let me ask you this. This is for me. This is live coaching on the spot. bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So the book that I've written, uh, Chains to Freedom. Okay. And I talk about my story in the beginning, uh, and I'm really trying to like go deep into all the mess. Like I want people to know what it was really like, and tell those stories. And then I go into from there, I then go into the transformation. And so basically the storyline of this book literally goes from like it's almost by age, right? And the reason why I did it this way, I put a post out there, okay? And the post was like literally you may have seen something like this on LinkedIn before it became a trend. Um, it says like when I was 8, dot 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 dot, like this happened. When I was 9, dot dot dot. When I was 10, blah 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 blah, all the way down like your life, like. And so when I went down and I went through that exercise, I was like, holy crap, there's actually so much stuff that happened between age 8 and age 16. There was a lot of mess. It was chaos. And, and so anyway, so through the book, I'm going through that. And then from 16 is really where I got my second chance at life. And I start going through the steps that it took for me to transform my life from there on, and the lessons that I learned along the way. And there's a blueprint in there, and that blueprint, there's 12 steps, but that those 12 steps may or may not, like for me, it appeared at different stages of my life. I didn't recognize that I was going through a process, but I was. Right. And so I feel like, people don't necessarily need to um, self-discover that stuff. If they could understand those lessons up front, right, then they could actually get that transformation a lot quicker.